every day, going over the market, the management, the targets. I think, maybe for you, as much as it is for me, can get a little bit stale. So we'll start to insert some more kind of educational stuff, right? I do want to make sure that we do prepare each day for the day ahead, but I didn't think that Friday's market price action made a huge change as far as what we're going to be looking for this week. So I thought that was a good day to have an additional video there, or a substitute video. Okay. All right. So looking at today, market, a little bit of a gap down here. Okay, did rally initially, pretty neutral on the market on the intraday, but the longer time frames remain bullish. Okay, we're looking to see if we get another pullback here, like we got after the breakout. All right, so SPY down 1/3% there. We still got about 20 minutes left, and then Q's down almost 0.5%. All right, so what I thought I would like to do today is just kind of walk through the thought process, kind of from the open to the close, the things that stood out, why they stood out. Okay, and so we'll go over some of the ideas and the play calls from today. All right, but going into tomorrow, still bullish on the market. All right, market long term, short term still looks bullish. All right, so we are doing a bit of a pullback here. Sell off should remain viable. Today on the intraday, I think we determined pretty early on that this was going to be range bound. Okay, so as it tried to make new highs, came back in, made new lows, and then right back up, right? We're going to be closing pretty close to where we opened. So as far as, the intraday time frame, there wasn't really much going on. And then not much has changed on the larger time frames. So we're going to remain bullish going into tomorrow. Okay, so starting off today, I really only had one gap I wanted to go after at the open. Okay, that was the NEWR, but I wanted to play it lower. I wanted to find this a short on this. Okay, and it's okay if they rally here, right? But I do need to see them show a little bit of weakness. Even the midway point, I think, is a good place to get a base, to look for something lower, right? And this actually stayed pretty strong, and I know this rallied quite a bit, but this was not the gap that I was looking for. It did gap a little bit further than we would have liked to have seen, but wanted to see that gap lower. No play on this one. Okay, so the NEWR was my favorite gap down. I did think it gapped a little bit too far, but it showed that I wanted to rally. So no harm, no foul, but a little bit kind of disappointing because that's what I wanted to go after right away. Okay, and then after that, as the morning progressed, we did see some weakness in the GM, and then this big shakeout here. So when we talk about something that was that got kind of a strong rally, okay, not as strong as the NEWR, right? I was saying you want to see kind of a base as it starts to weaken. Even the midway point, I think, is good. This is a little bit below that, right? And then look at this shakeout, right? Something that we've I think talked about pretty consistently over the last few weeks. You get a bar, a wide range bar, you get volume pickup, you get an inside bar, and then that inside bar, or then that wide range bar gets no follow through. Look at that, identical here, and here, right? Sometimes it'll be enough to get you out of the play. Sometimes your stop holds, right? But you can even use this to add more to it. So the GM was a pretty good play there. Probably the biggest play that I gave to the room today was that GM. Okay, and this one was a gap down. So this is the kind of thing I'm okay with looking for this short. Gap down does have some support to the left, but gapping down nicely there. And I think the biggest, attention grabbing sector today would have been energy. And we did have an idea. I did have an idea on the QEP to be played, but actually came in, broke the base first. And at this point, I was kind of seeing that it was weakening. I did cancel it, but it actually could have worked with new numbers. So I wanted to see this long. A lot of energy worked, right? You saw, if you were following, right, prices on USO, right, also getting bought there. So a lot of these were looking higher, and then would have worked fine as a play. I was looking for kind of the one that maybe represented the most bullishness, had a nice entry, and the daily I thought also looked nice. We've been looking at a lot of transition A kind of dailies that have worked well. But yeah, and even this like QEP was not something I was especially excited for. I did feel like it was worth giving a shot, but if anything that really was energy, um, looked pretty good. Except for there were a couple things that were outliers, maybe because they're refiners, that I thought were worth looking at. So one of them that came up later was the PBF, and this is really more my play than playing something like the QEP. Because when the whole sector is moving, right? Sometimes that happens in financials, happens in gold, right? I prefer to go after something else because if the sector decides that it's reached a top or it's done for the day, then all the plays are going to follow. And if I can find something that says it's on its own page, then I have a better chance for a bigger move and less sector dependent. So hopefully that makes sense. So when it came to outliers, I really liked this PBF. Okay, so this PBF was called as a base breakdown in here. 15-minute was also basing at the lows, right? So this, you can see we're already moving into the afternoon here, right? Staying very, very weak here and then breaking down. The back half ended up rallying quite a bit there. And so kind of a short-lived play there. It did get to target 1 and beyond there as it got to support on the daily. Okay, but when it came to the energy sector, this was a clear outlier, definitely stood out there. So that was a nice little breakdown to get going there on the PBF. Couple different, you can see that these have all been played with the gap. Okay, PBF was a gap down, we're playing with the gap. GM was a gap down, playing with the gap. All right, and then AZUL was also given. This was also a gap down to be played with the gap. You can see staying very weak, a little bit of a retracement, and then for lower. So this one's a little bit different, and this was the only of this strategy that I saw today that I thought, probably could work. But if you know the gap bully gap berry strategy, that this is going against the larger time frame move here. You can see it's recently transitioned out of the downtrend. We actually played this long last week, if you guys recall. We played it long on this day, on this gap up. And so it gapped up today and got sold. Now, I wasn't looking to short this right at the open. I actually liked it as a long to see if it gave us a setup, but it got sold right away on the AIMT. So this got sold right away. There wasn't really any kind of entry and then stayed pretty weak here. So I was looking at this, maybe if we break here, get some follow through, and it did not. Okay. So this actually would have failed on the AIMT, but the reason that decided to pass on it is because on the gap bullies and the gap bears, we much prefer to see that they are in line with the recent, with the long-term trend, right? And this had been doing a transition A. So that just means that it's probably going to run into some support, run into some buying, and so like good pass on this, but of course, this is one of my favorite strategies. So, I love it when they're just kind of working. Even low quality ones are working and we can be aggressive on them. But this kind of told us that, it's still a bit too aggressive to be playing against that long-term trend on a gap bully, gap bearing. Okay. So, it was a day where we kind of had to be flexible. Okay, because it's really not my approach to say, okay, energy is up, I'm just gonna find an energy stock and play it and ride along with the sector. If anything, I'm gonna find something that maybe is showing weakness that isn't participating. That way, if energy does find a top, these things are gonna move even more. So something like that PBF, I did consider the QEP because I thought, if we do keep going, looks good. But this isn't really kind of my focus here, right? So what I want to find are the outliers, and NEWR definitely was, but we didn't really get a chance to short it. GM was and had a nice move there, AZUL as well, and then AIMT, pretty different in that it had this gap up, got sold hard, is going to close near the lows, but at least the breakdown that I was looking at would not have followed through. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of stuff that's like considered, and sometimes it just comes down to only one or two plays maybe get called and managed for the room. But it's all about knowing what I'm looking for, what it would have to do in order for me to play it, right? Otherwise, I think it's very easy to get caught up and kind of just chasing a move that's already started, only to see it kind of move a little bit in your favor before it reverses or um, kind of goes to sleep and goes sideways. So, that was really the process. Really started off with the NEWR. That wasn't going to be it. And then from there, look for other gaps, other good setups. Okay. So, this kind of is pretty typical, I think, for this time of the year. Okay. We don't have really a nice earnings list to work with. And that often results in a gaps list that we don't have a lot to work with. So, being able to, be patient in a lot of ways. You can see a lot of these where they kind of had setups, and even if they worked like the QEP, that, they didn't give the setup that I was looking for. So it was just hands off. Okay. So, that's going to do it for today. I thought it was kind of a typical Monday. There were some things, but overall, not a busy Monday. All right. But hopefully you did well. All right. If not, we still got plenty of the week left, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Okay, just a quick recap. Going into tomorrow, still bullish on the Qs and SPY, so sell-offs should be buyable. All right, and then we'll see what opportunities present themselves tomorrow. All right, hope you have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.